Good morning, Doc Annabelle and fellow educators. Today, I'll be discussing authoritarian measurement operation. So I'm your lead discussant, Mr. Aldrin A. Isguera. Before I start my discussion about my report, so let me start with the authoritarianism quote. So this quote is from Paulo Freire. As one might expect, authoritarianism will at times cause children and students to adopt rebellious positions, defiant of any limit, discipline, or authority. But it will also lead to apathy, excessive obedience, uncritical conformity, lack of resistance against authoritarian discourse, self-abnegation, and fear of freedom. From this quote, it shows that authoritarianism has a good and bad effect to an individual. It, I think it depends on the perception and experience of a person to this form of trends. Let me move on to the first measurement of authoritarianism. The first is California F-scale personality test. The California F-scale is a 1947 personality test designed by Theodore W. Adorno and others to measure the authoritarian personality. F stands for fascist. The F-scale measures responses on several different components of authoritarianism, such as conventionalism, authoritarian aggression, superstition and stereotype P, power and toughness, destructiveness and cynicism, projectivity and sex. The fascist is a system of government led by a dictator who typically rules by forcefully and often violently suppressing opposition and criticism, controlling all the industry and commerce, and promoting nationalism and often racism. California F-scale personality test. The scale specifically examines the following personality dimensions: conventionalism, conformity to the traditional societal norms and values of the middle class; authoritarian submission, a passive notion towards adhering to conventional norms and values; authoritarian aggression, punishing and condemning individuals who don't adhere to conventional values; religion and ethics; superstition, power and toughness; anti-introspection, rejection of all inwardness, of the subjective, the imaginative and tender-minded, and of self-criticism; destructiveness and cynicism, generalized hostility, vilification of the human; projectivity, the disposition to believe that wild and dangerous things go on this world; the projection outwards of unconscious emotional impulses; and the last one is sex, exaggerated concern with sexual goings on. So this is the example of questions that we can see in California F-scale. So let me read some of the questions. 1. Obedience and respect for authority are the most important virtues children should learn. 2. No weakness or difficulty can hold us back if we have enough willpower. 3. Science has its place, but there are many important things that can we never possibly be understood by the human mind. So these are the examples of questions that we can have in California F-scale by Adorno in 1950. Let's move to the next measurement for authoritarianism. The right-wing authoritarianism scale. The right-wing authoritarianism scale was developed by Bob Altimeyer in 1981 as a revision of the F-scale that improved its statistical properties. Procedure. The test consists of 22 opinions, and for each you must indicate how much you agree with it. The test should take 3 to 5 minutes to complete. The right-wing authoritarianism scale measures the degree to which people defer to established authorities, show aggression toward outgroups, when authorities sanctioned that aggression and support traditional values endorsed by authorities. The authoritarian personality originally referred to as the anti-democratic personality. The authoritarian personality included 9 dimensions: support for conventional values, authoritarian submission, authoritarian aggression, stereotypy and rigidity, toughness and power, and cynicism, as well as the psychodynamic components of anti-interception, projectivity, and sexual inhibition. Uh, These are the opinions that was written in the right-wing authoritarianism scale. So from the right-wing authoritarianism scale, there are questions answered on a 9-point fully anchored disagree, agree, response set. So example number 1 is our country desperately needs a mighty leader who will do what has to be done to destroy the radical new ways and sinfulness that are ruining us. So this is the example. Number 2 is gays and lesbians are just as healthy and moral as anybody else. So these are the opinions that need to answer by disagree or agree measurement for right-wing authoritarianism. Let me move to the third measurement of authoritarianism. The third is paternalist leadership. Paternalist leadership. Paternalistic leadership is a managerial approach that involves a dominant authority figure who acts as a patriarch or matriarch and treats employees and partners as though they are members of a large extended family. In exchange, the leader expects loyalty and trust from employees, as well as obedience. Paternalism leadership is generally defined as a leadership style in which strong discipline and authority and special interest and interests are felt. In an authoritarian dimension, paternalistic leaders use strategies such as wide power distances and strict discipline to maintain power control over their subordinates. Subordinates are expected to obey without question and use a term good father for this dimension for paternalistic leadership. This is the pros and cons of paternalistic leadership. Pros: employees believe they are heard and their needs are addressed because of high employee loyalty. Cons: bad decisions from above cause significant staff dissatisfaction. Paternalistic leadership style advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: high loyalty because employees feel acknowledged and their needs are taken care of. Good behavior and work are always rewarded. Reduced absenteeism and quitting. Decisions are made with the employee's best interest in mind. These are the disadvantages. Managers, like parents, will occasionally have to reprimand employees in unconventional ways. The above sometimes upsets employees. Employees become increasingly reliant on the employer to complete tasks in a timely and suitable manner. Staff motivation can suffer if loyalty to the management isn't strong. Employee legislation and rights can cause or worsen problems. So these are the sample questions that we can have in paternalistic leadership. Number one, I ultimately decide important policies or action plans. Number two, I obtain the opinions of trusted associates before making important decisions. So we have here the questions, sample questions for paternalistic leadership style. Okay, let's move on. So for authoritarian leaders expect their subordinates to obey their requests without disagreement and to be socialized to accept and respect a strict and centralized hierarchy. Authoritarian leadership has four kinds of typical behavior. First, authoritarian leaders exercise tight control over their subordinates and require unquestioning submission. Second, authoritarian leaders tend to deliberately ignore subordinates' suggestions and contributions. Third, authoritarian leaders focus very much on their dignity and always show confidence. And fourth, highly authoritarian leaders demand that their subordinates achieve the best performance within the organization and make all the important decisions in their team. So that's all for my report for the measurement of authoritarian operation. Thank you very much and have a good day.